Hi there. It's good to be back again. I've been ill for a while, and I had some personal challenges to sort out in one way or another. But enough of that. I hope I find you well, and nice to see that I've crept over the 100 subscribers. I'd just like to thank all of those people that subscribed, and hopefully other people will continue to do so. If you'd just like and subscribe and comment, please comment on the videos. I love commenting on those comments, and if I've got no comments to comment on, I can't comment, but there you go. So, as the introduction says, it's Wonder Woman time. Unfortunately, I have no Wonder Woman Volume 1 anymore, but I do have the full run of Volume 2. The George Perez run that ran 62 issues was written as if Volume 1, that ran from 1942 to 1986, didn't actually exist. So therefore, the first few issues, I won't be mentioning their first appearances, because I mean we've known the characters for years. And it's not really their true first appearances, it's just their chronological ones. They do actually mention that with the gods and Diana, as in chronologically, and along with the equipment that she used. And that information was given by DC database, so believe it or not. Right, time for some comic covers. And the first comic cover is Volume 2, number 1, February 1987. And that is a lovely George Perez cover, of course. And it was actually double-sided. So, there you go. And that cover, the title was The Princess and the Power. And it was written by Greg Potter and George Perez. And the pencils were by George Perez, inks were by Bruce D. Patterson, and the colours were by Tajania Wood. This introduced Queen Hippolyta, Menelippe, Philippus, and the Amazons of Themyscira. Then we have number 2, March 1987. And that, obviously, another George Perez cover. And this story actually introduced Colonel Steve Trevor and Etta Candy. And it was called A Fire in the Sky, which I think is... No, I thought we said it on the cover. No, Face Off at 30,000 feet on the cover. Again, the writers were George Perez and Graham Potter. Was it Graham Potter? Yeah, Greg Potter. I don't know where I got Graham from. And the artists were again George Perez, Brian Patterson and Tajania Wood. Then we have from April 87 cover date, number 3. Again, obviously another cover by George Perez. And that had the real first appearances this time. I say that because obviously they weren't in the Volume 1. And that is for Julia Capitellis and Vanessa Capitellis, mother and daughter, who become quite integral in the storyline following on. And this story was called The Deadly Arrival, written by Len Wein, this time with George Perez, and the usual artists, George Perez, Brian Patterson and Tajania Wood. Oh, I should have said. The trivia for this issue: Julia Capitellis experiences a vision of churning seas and Themyscira when she first touches the amulet of Harmonia. So remember that for later. There may be a quiz. Then we have number 4, May 1987. Again, lovely cover by the wonderful George Perez, and the story entitled A Long Day's Journey into Fright. And as the cultured among you will know, the title is taken from a play and then a movie, one from 1956, then the movie 1962, which was called A Long Day's Journey into Night, written by Eugene O'Neill. Sorry, I'm doing that trivia again. Anyway, the Wonder Woman story is written by Len Wein and George Perez, and the usual artists, George Perez, Brian Patterson, and Tajania Wood. Then we have Wonder Woman number 5. Another super George Perez cover. And see, June 87 cover date. And the story was the Ars Assault, as in the god Ars. And it was written again by Len Wein and George Perez. And the art was, guess who? George Perez, Brian Patterson, and Tajania Wood. And the trivia from this issue, we learn the fears of Etta Candy. Her fear is live burial, which is called tapophobia. Julia Capitelli's is drowning, which is aquaphobia. Steve Trevor is spiders, as you all know that one, arachnophobia. And Matthew Michaelis is cats. That's a friend of Steve Trevor, but he's not in it for very long. I think he passes away next issue, to be honest. But anyway, the cats is allurophobia. Learn lots on this channel. I certainly do. Number 6, July 87. And there's the god Ars there in all his glory. And again, another lovely George Perez cover. It's a bit dark, this one, for the light that's in this room. And the title was Power Play. And again, we have the Len Wein and George Perez double act writing it. And the usual artists, George Perez, Brian Patterson, and Tajania Wood with the art. Nothing special about that issue, so they say. Then we have number 7, August 87. Again, obviously George Perez. And as I've written down here, a very relevant cover for the title, which is called Rebirth. And that looks just like what Wonder Woman's doing, coming from the water there. And again, our friends Len Wein and George Perez writing. And guess who the artist is? Yep, you got it. George Perez, Brian Patterson, and Tajania Wood. And in this issue we actually have the first appearance, again the volume 2 first appearance, of Barbara Ann Minerva. And you know who she becomes. And if you don't, Cheetah. I'm sure you all knew that. And then we have number 8. And number 8, again, obviously George Perez. And it's called Time Passages. And I say, not to be confused with the song from 1978 by Al Stewart. I love that song, that's what really reminded me of it. And again, have a guess who's wrote it. Len Wein, George Perez, and artists again, George Perez, Brian Patterson, and Tajania Wood. I might have a little bit of trivia about this one. Yes, I do. Though labelled as such, several panels are direct reproductions of scenes from Legends number 6, the last issue of the 6-issue miniseries. Oh, and also in this issue were caricatures of George Perez, Len Wein, Karen Berger, and Jeanette Kahn, and they were during Mindy's commissioning of a Wonder Woman comic, which was part of the story in this issue, and I think the issues previously as well. Right, and now we do have Cheetah. I believe this first appearance as Cheetah in this issue number 9, October 87. But as I said, obviously the first volume 2 appearance. So I think she appeared on more covers than any other of her villains back in time, back in the 40s and 50s. And this was called Blood of the Cheetah, and it was written again by Len Wein and George Perez. And art was again by, you guessed it, George Perez, Brian Patterson and Tejania Wood. Yeah, nearly coming to the end now. Number 10, November 87 cover date. And that is again by George Perez. And the title is Paradise Lost. Again written by Len Wein and George Perez. And we have the artist, George Perez, and we have the inker, Brian Patterson. But just for a change, we have the colourist, Carl Gafford. I hope you've noticed my stickers at the back, by the way. I'm hoping for some more. Then we have number 11, December 87. And the cover date was a cover by George Perez. And this was called Fire and Torment. And again, Len Wein, George Perez writing it. And the art was George Perez, Brian Patterson. And again, we had Carl Gafford doing the colouring. And the last issue for this video, because it's gone on for over 12 minutes now, which is miles too long. And that's number 12. Another lovely George Perez cover. And this is January 1988. Cover date. This, as you can see, was a crossover with the Millennium miniseries stories. And this was obviously week 1. This was called Echoes of the Past. And it was by Len Wein, George Perez writing. And again, we had George Perez, Brian Patterson and Carl Gafford doing the art. And that is it. Hopefully I will be back soon. My throat's still playing me silly buggers. But thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Please comment, and it's nice to be back. Please let me know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing in the comments. See you again in the next one. Thanks very much. Bye.